His three classmates, Akin, Kenkin, and Mario, got more annoyed every time Sakamoto got everyone's attention without trying. Their annoyance mostly came from jealousy, because Sakamoto always got the attention they wanted for themselves. To bring him down, the three put a dirty chalk eraser above the classroom door so it would fall on him as he walked in. But Sakamoto caught it as soon as he entered and greeted everyone like nothing happened. The girls reacted the same way as always, and this prank only made Akin and his friends look stupid. After that, they followed him to the bathroom and poured water into his stall. They felt sure they had finally ruined his style. But when Sakamoto came out, he was perfectly fine. He calmly used an umbrella to keep from getting wet. Once again, their plan failed. Next time, they went even further. They threw Sakamoto's desk out the classroom window so he would have nowhere to sit. The girls quickly invited him to share their desks, but Sakamoto gently refused. Then he opened a window, sat on the edge like it was the most normal seat, and told the teacher to continue the lesson. By now, Akin's annoyance had turned into an obsession, and he decided that just embarrassing Sakamoto was not enough. Sometime later, Kakuda told Sakamoto that the teacher had called him to help in the science prep room. When he got there, Akin, Kenkin, and Mario pulled him inside and tied him up. They asked him about his past, then started talking about ways to shame him, including taking his bad pictures and sending them to the girls in class. Akin started to open his uniform buttons and take pictures, but suddenly the room began to smell like smoke. Since these boys had been smoking there before, a fire started. Their confidence quickly turned into panic. The door would not open because a broom had fallen against it from the other side. And when Akin tried to call his senior Hayabusa, the phone battery died. Kenkin looked for chemicals to put out the fire, but Sakamoto stopped him and told everyone to stay back. Then he started walking around the fire in a strange way, changing his steps every time. At first, the others thought he had lost his mind, but Mario guessed that maybe Sakamoto was trying to make wind to put out the fire, so they joined him. Their panicked movements and loud steps caught the attention of the staff below. PE teacher Kakuda came upstairs, saw the boys walking around the fire, and quickly put it out with a fire extinguisher. When he asked for the reason, Sakamoto calmly said that after the fire started for personal reasons, they got stuck inside, so he made noise to get the teacher's attention. When Kakuda asked more, Sakamoto saved the others and said he was only teaching them how to use an alcohol lamp. He took the blame instead of exposing them and was ordered to write an apology letter. Akin, Kenkin, and Mario were shocked to see how easily he saved them. At that moment, their hate ended, and Akin accepted that Sakamoto was really amazing. Soon after, Sakamoto was walking to school with an umbrella in a heavy storm. On the way, he saw a bird struggling against the strong wind. Debris and gusts were flying everywhere, and Sakamoto avoided every obstacle in a very exact way, but the bird was blown toward danger. He ran after it, almost slipped near the river, then jumped forward, controlled his fall with the umbrella, and saved the bird in midair. By the time he secured it, the storm had already started to calm down. The next day, Sarah tried to get the girls' attention by claiming he worked as an amateur model and even offered to teach them about fashion, but they did not show much interest. Then news of Sakamoto's rescue spread through the whole school because a newspaper printed a picture showing Sakamoto flying in the storm. His classmates, especially the girls, were very impressed. This attention annoyed Sarah, who always claimed to work as an amateur model to impress girls himself. Annoyed that Sakamoto had beaten him again, Sarah spent the whole day trying to outdo him. In class, he tried to pull away Sakamoto's chair before he sat down, but Sakamoto somehow sat like there was an invisible chair there. During sports, Sarah kept trying to hit him with a ball and failed every time. He also tried to make Sakamoto use a broken water fountain, but the result was the same, and Sakamoto looked even more impressive among the water splashes. Sarah kept searching for a way to get the attention back for himself, but then a huge bee entered the classroom. The girls screamed, ran out, and locked the boys inside. The rest panicked, but Sakamoto stayed completely calm. When the bee landed on his hair, Sarah rushed to hit it, but failed, and the bee came to him instead. Then Sakamoto took a compass and used it with such accuracy as if it was a pair of chopsticks. After a tense moment, he caught the bee and let it out without hurting anyone. The whole class was amazed, and Sarah could only watch as Sakamoto turned even a normal problem into another impossible show of his own style. The next day, Sakamoto climbed a tree with bird food in his hand to meet the bird he had saved in the storm, but he could not find it anywhere. When he came back down, he saw some boys picking on Kakuda and taking money from him. Later, when Sakamoto went to him and asked what was happening, Kakuda first tried to avoid the question and said it was not his problem, but then his hidden frustration came out. He admitted that he was giving those boys money because because he was scared, and to keep doing this, he kept lying to his mom about school expenses and haircuts. Sakamoto listened to him, then left for a while. This made Kubota even more upset because he thought Sakamoto had no plan to help him. But after a short time, Sakamoto came back with a practical solution. If Kubota needed money, he should earn it himself instead of keeping up the lies. After that, both of them started working at a local fast food restaurant. There, they met Matsuyama, who was in charge of training new staff. Because of Sakamoto's looks, manners, and natural ability to get people's attention, she put him at the front counter to handle customers right away. On the other hand, Kubota was sent to the back to clean and help with food. At first, he did not like any of it. While working, he got so bored that he even thought about making up new lies to get more money from his mom instead of dealing with the job. But then things changed. Suddenly, the restaurant got very busy. A long line of girls formed at the counter, and it was clear they were there for Sakamoto. To handle the rush, Matsuyama quickly put Kubota on fries. At first, Kubota got completely confused, but under pressure, he slowly started to learn the job. When all the orders were done, Matsuyama praised his effort and said he was getting good at it. This small praise had a big effect on him. For the first time, Kubota felt proud of his work, and after that, he started to learn the other kitchen jobs with real interest. After several days, payday finally came. Kubota happily told Sakamoto that he was thinking of spending his earnings on fixing his hair, while Sakamoto calmly said he was going to buy a new protractor. This difference between them was strange, but for Sakamoto, it was completely normal. Soon after, Akin, Kenkin, and Mario came to the restaurant as customers. Akin still could not act normal in front of Sakamoto, and asked him for a strange smile with his takeout order. At the same time, Kubota suddenly froze because the same boys who bullied him entered the restaurant. He tried to hide, but they saw him right away. While ordering from Sakamoto, they told Kubota to meet them at Gaphon Park after his shift, and they also threatened him not to try running away. Sakamoto seemed calm, but when he gave them their food, he purposely did not give a straw or dipping sauce. After work, Kubota took his pay and went to the park. There, the boys first complained about the missing straw and sauce, then told him to hand over all his pay. For a moment, Kubota almost agreed, but then he remembered what he had gone through to earn that money. He refused and said he would not let them take it. The boys attacked him, but even while getting beaten, he held on to his pay. At that moment, Sakamoto arrived. Using things he had taken from the restaurant, he attacked with perfect accuracy. He blew through a straw to hit one boy's ear and make him lose his balance, then threw dipping sauce in another's eyes. When the boys panicked, Sakamoto told Kubota to stand up for himself now. Finally breaking his fear, Kubota moved forward, hit them with all his strength, threw sand on them, and chased them away. After it was all over, he was filled with relief and thanks, but Sakamoto quietly left because his shift was actually not finished yet. The next day, the focus shifted to Aina. She was a girl who was popular with boys, but many girls in class did not like her. She got annoyed because Sakamoto seemed to be the only boy who did not pay any attention to her at all. To get his attention, she tried one way after another. She told him to help her with her studies so she could sit closer to him, but Sakamoto changed his position so smoothly that she could not close the distance the way she wanted. Then she tried to ask his first name and talk more casually, but the classroom noise ruined the moment. After that, she tried to copy his actions and walk at his speed, but Sakamoto moved with such strange accuracy that she could not keep up. Even when she left in a big way, hoping he would stop her, he only stood up because he saw a dog running outside. Still not giving up, Aina invited him to join a kokuri game, which was a fortune-telling ritual. Tanaka and Yagi also joined, even though they usually did not get along with Aina, while Sakamoto sat nearby to watch. During the game, the girls asked joke questions, and Aina tried to make the answers go her way. But in the confusion, the coin slipped, and suddenly Sakamoto acted like the kokuri spirit had possessed him. Speaking through him, the spirit said that if the girls did not build a holy arch in 20 minutes, it would take Sakamoto's body back to the mountains. It also said it would leave only if the girls finished the arch on time. Tanaka and Yagi quickly started stacking desks to make the arch, but Aina hesitated and complained that she was not used to hard work. Then things changed when a desk almost fell on Yagi. Aina quickly moved forward and saved her, then finally joined in the work herself. The three girls finished the structure together within the time limit. After that, the spirit left, Sakamoto returned to normal, and the tension between the girls ended. When they all went home together, it became clear that the whole possession had been Sakamoto's plan from the start. With this strange challenge, he forced Aina, Tanaka, and Yagi to understand each other and become friends, then used his secret move, reset position, to put everything back in order. A few days later, Sakamoto somehow became the personal helper of Maruyama, a second-year delinquent who worked under Hayabusa, the leader of the senior troublemakers. Hayabusa had already warned Maruyama not to push the first-year boys too much, but Maruyama said he was only teaching them discipline and toughness. To prove his point, he blew a whistle to call the new first-year boy he had assigned as an errand boy. To everyone's surprise, Sakamoto slid into the room at exactly the right time and even served lunch with a broom, in such a way that the seniors were impressed. Instead of making making him feel embarrassed. Later, Kubota, who now seemed more confident after his recent changes, asked Sakamoto why he followed everything Maruyama said. Kubota could see clearly that the seniors were using him like an easy tool, but Sakamoto calmly explained that serving the senior students was part of learning respect and building character. Kubota did not agree with this, but Sakamoto did not look worried at all. When Maruyama called again, Sakamoto went to him right away. First, he was told to bring a drink, and instead of a normal drink, he came back with a special mix made to Maruyama's taste. The seniors were pleased and started to depend on him even more. Soon, Maruyama began to give him one task after another. When he forgot his gym uniform, Sakamoto took his measurements and made a new PE outfit from natural things that absorb sweat better than normal clothes, making Maruyama stand out in the field. After that, Sakamoto polished his shoes, sat in class for him, gave him massages, shaved him, and even cut his nails. Maruyama liked all this so much that he slowly stopped doing even simple things for himself. Hayabusa saw all this and warned him that instead of training the first-year boy, he had turned himself into a lazy and needy person. Even then, Maruyama could not stop. The next time he called Sakamoto, he was so tired that he did not even have the energy to think of a new task. So he just said that Sakamoto should start helping him on his own and focus on things that would make his life easier. Sakamoto took this seriously. The result was much more than Maruyama expected. When the toilet paper ran out in the bathroom, Sakamoto appeared right away with a new roll on his arm. When Maruyama took off his shoes, Sakamoto warmed them for him. When this made him feel worse instead of relaxed, Sakamoto went even further and brought a cart so he could carry Maruyama around instead of making him walk. At this point, Maruyama really panicked. He ran and hid in a storage room, then tried to call Hayabusa for help, but even this call could not save him. Sakamoto found him there too. Instead of attacking or making fun of him, he had turned the storage room into a peaceful place to rest, with a blanket and a good environment for sleep. He even offered to sing a lullaby so Maruyama could sleep well all night. This was the last straw. Maruyama could not take Sakamoto's extreme dedication anymore and fired him on the spot. The next day, everyone was surprised when Maruyama actually bought his bread in the cafeteria like a normal student. On another table, Sakamoto calmly told Kubota that he had been fired. He thought maybe the reason was his singing, but Kubota knew the real problem was that Maruyama had been crushed by all of it himself. After that, the story went to Kubata's home life. It turned out that 2 weeks earlier, Kubota had asked Sakamoto to tutor him because his test scores were very bad, while Sakamoto's were very good. When Sakamoto first visited his house, he politely brought a small gift for Kubota's mom, including seashells, and just that one meeting made Kubota's mom completely obsessed with him. Since then, she kept thinking about him and even started trying to look better herself. She started buying beauty products, like a facial massager, to make herself look younger and more attractive. Kubota found the situation very creepy, and every time she came close, he hid Sakamoto. One day, while Sakamoto was teaching him chemistry, Kubota realized he had forgotten his textbook at school. He left quickly to get it and, just in case, gave Sakamoto a cell phone because Sakamoto did not have a phone himself. After being left alone in the house, soon Kubota's mom started looking for Sakamoto because when she saw his shoes, she knew he was still in the house. Then a strange game of hide and seek started. She searched for him room by room while Sakamoto kept hiding and moving through very tight spaces, always managing to stay just out of her sight. Whenever she got close, he changed his position at exactly the right time. At one point, his footprints led her straight to the balcony, where Sakamoto made it look like he had escaped down a rope and left the house. Thinking she had lost him, Kubota's mom finally gave up and sat down sadly. She turned on the TV and started watching a movie with an actor who looked a lot like Sakamoto. Seeing her like this, Sakamoto decided to end the problem so she could move on. He used a pre-recorded video and arranged everything carefully so that when she looked at the screen, it seemed as if Sakamoto himself was speaking to her from another world, gently telling her that they could never be together and asking her to take good care of her son instead of him. He used both the TV and his own position to make the trick even stronger, as if he was part of the screen and could not be reached. At that moment, Kubota came home and saw his mom crying. He comforted her while she slowly accepted that Sakamoto was out of her reach. After that day, Sakamoto stopped coming to Kubota's house and only tutored him in the library. The mixed feelings in Kubota's mom's heart still stayed, but all the trouble at home finally ended, and Sakamoto moved on again, like all of this was completely normal for him. Another school day started, and PE teacher Kakuda stood at the front gate. He was determined that today he would finally catch Sakamoto coming late. Because Sakamoto always arrived at the very last moment, Kakuda waited for the bell and started closing the gate with confidence. At that moment, Sakamoto appeared running toward the entrance with a bamboo stick in his hand. Kakuda thought he would use the stick to jump over the gate, so he quickly moved to stop him. But Sakamoto just dropped the stick, slipped through the gap before the gate fully closed, and entered on time. Then he explained that he brought the bamboo to decorate the plain-looking entrance, which made Kakuda even more annoyed. After that, Kakuda started thinking about how to catch him breaking some rule so he could scold him hard. When he saw Sakamoto with Akan, Kengen, and Mario behind a wall and saw some smoke there, he rushed over because he thought something bad was happening. But when he got close, he found out they were just making soap bubbles. Akan proudly said he had quit smoking and now liked making bubbles more. Later, during cleaning time, Kakuda saw Sakamoto doing something strange with a broom and thought he was playing instead of working. But another student explained that he was actually cleaning dust from the ceiling and even avoiding falling dirt in a way that surprised everyone watching. This scene, which almost looked beautiful, still did not reduce Kakuda's frustration. Still looking for a chance to scold him, Kakuda kept watching Sakamoto in class. During one lesson, he saw Sakamoto quietly preparing something on his desk and thought he was playing around instead of paying attention. When Sakamoto finally took out plain rice and prepared to eat it, Kakuda saw his late chance. He stopped the lesson, accused Sakamoto of being rude, and sent him out into the hallway. As he left, Sakamoto took some of the rice with him. Kakuda felt satisfied, but later when he went outside, he found out the real truth. Sakamoto had only taken the rice to feed a hungry bird. Realizing he had misunderstood the whole situation and punished him for a good deed, Kakuda's eyes filled with tears. The next day, Kakuda stood at the gate again and still was not ready to give up. Once again, Sakamoto arrived at the very last moment, but this time, instead of entering normally, he slid under the way Kakuda was standing and got in right on time. Kakuda yelled at him to stop coming in like that and go to class, but every attempt failed. Meanwhile, there was a cooking lesson where a snail was found in the lettuce, which caused a commotion among the students. While everyone else reacted with disgust, Sakamoto handled the situation in his usual precise way, putting salt and sugar on the snail to hide it, and later released it safely. After that, another class activity gave Aina a new chance to get close to Sakamoto. In one class, students were told to pair up and draw each other's faces. All the girls wanted to be his partner, but Aina got the spot first. She sat in front of him with high hopes, while the other girls gathered nearby to see what he would draw. When the art activity started, Aina was already happy that she had managed to sit closest to him again. When Sakamoto finished her picture and showed it to her, she first panicked because she thought he had drawn her like a harsh orangutan. But when Yagi told her to look at the page upside down, she realized he had actually drawn her like a beautiful angel. Her embarrassment quickly turned to happiness, and soon all the girls wanted him to draw their pictures too. Shortly after, the school faced real danger when a fire started in the science prep room. The teachers quickly ordered an evacuation, and Sakamoto took charge with a whistle and helped his classmates leave in order. When everyone gathered in the schoolyard and attendance was counted, they realized Akan was missing. Mario remembered he had gone to the bathroom, which meant he was still trapped inside the building. Without any hesitation, Sakamoto soaked himself with water, covered his face with a cloth, and went back inside the smoke-filled building. Inside, he crawled low in the hallway to reach the bathroom, where Akan still had not fully understood what was happening. Sakamoto made him get low, then safely lowered him out the window with a rope. Everyone outside felt relief when Akan got out, but then panicked again because Sakamoto was still inside. A moment later, he appeared at the window and came out using a homemade parachute, turning the fire rescue into another unusual display. Kakuda, who was also very moved after feeling relief, scolded him with tears in his eyes for making everyone worry. Then summer vacation started, and Akan, Kenken, and Mario prepared another trap. They dug a pit and hid nearby so Sakamoto would fall in. When he finally came, wearing the same clothes that looked like his usual school uniform, he stepped right into the trap and disappeared. But when the three boys looked into the pit, he was nowhere to be seen. After not seeing him for 3 days, they got worried and asked Kubota if he knew anything. Kubota was not worried at all and said that maybe Sakamoto was in control of the whole situation, and this made Akan even more serious about finding him. The three asked people in the city if they had seen a boy dressed like Sakamoto. One person said he saw him moving strangely on a footbridge. Another saw him trying sample food in a supermarket, and some people said they saw him doing different small jobs around the city, like fixing a seesaw or carefully throwing rocks. As evening came, the boys started to think maybe he really had disappeared. Then a child fell into the same pit and said there was another hole below. The boys boys checked it and found a button from Sakamoto there. When Akin dropped the button into the lower hole and did not hear it hit the ground, he decided that the tunnel must go straight to Brazil, and he jumped in after it. In reality, Sakamoto had just gone to the dry cleaner to get his real uniform back, and it became clear that the clothes people saw him in before were only a plain white shirt. Then he returned to the trap site, where Akin was stuck in the pit, and the other two were trying to pull him out. Sakamoto calmly said that he had made the hole bigger himself because he thought they were trying to make a hot spring, and he wanted to help with the digging. With this strange misunderstanding, the three boys went quiet, feeling relief, surprise, and frustration all at once, while Sakamoto had once again turned their plan into something completely different. During a softball game, Sakamoto stepped up to pitch, and the girls around him cheered like they were watching a famous player. Kubota, standing some distance away, thought the ball would never reach him, but Sakamoto's throw hit him hard right in the face. Kubota fell with blood coming from his nose, but before he hit the ground, Sakamoto caught him. He quickly supported Kubota so his head stayed upright, then tore a piece from his own shirt to make a temporary bandage to stop the bleeding. Kubota recovered, but the girls were just as shocked by the accident as they were by Sakamoto suddenly tearing his shirt. In another part of the school, Hayabusa kept his scary reputation among the delinquent boys. People respected him for his fighting skills, his presence, and because even first-year boys were impressed when they saw him. When he was walking in the hallway with Maruyama and some younger followers, he saw a big crowd of girls ahead and thought maybe an important person had come. But the center of attention was Sakamoto. The girls gathered around him, asking for autographs on their tracksuits, and treated him more like an idol than a classmate. Then Hayabusa remembered that Sakamoto had once been Maruyama's personal helper. As soon as Maruyama saw him, his face turned pale and he started to throw up. He only warned Hayabusa that Sakamoto was dangerous. The first-year delinquent boys agreed, but their nervousness only made Hayabusa more curious. Later in class, Kubota asked Sakamoto for advice about changing his hairstyle. Sakamoto gave a strange suggestion and compared his head to a kind of natural growing kit, while Kubota admitted he wanted something fashionable even though his mom liked a more natural look. Sarah joined in and joked about shaving it all off, but the conversation suddenly ended when Hayabusa stormed into the classroom. He pushed Sarah aside, went straight to Sakamoto, and told him to give him his face. Sakamoto took it literally and calmly handed over a mold of his own face like it was a totally normal request. Hayabusa went silent, and before he could say anything, the girls in class rushed toward him because they all wanted the mold for themselves. Hayabusa felt like Sakamoto was controlling the whole class without even standing up. Annoyed, he crushed the mold under his foot and challenged Sakamoto to meet him after school under track 2 by the river. Sakamoto replied that he had cleaning duty and could not come, which made Hayabusa's followers even more irritated. They decided to pressure him into accepting the challenge. First, they stole his shoes while he was in the restroom and left a message that he should get them from the riverbank. But Sakamoto walked around the whole school in just his socks without complaining. Then they took his ruler while he was helping the girls put up posters, but he quickly adapted and used Kakuda's perfectly straight and square hairstyle as a guide instead. None of these tricks worked. When they realized Sakamoto would not react himself, they targeted Kubota. They grabbed him, cut his carefully styled hair, and left another message for Sakamoto. Kubota first tried to pretend he did not care, but soon broke down crying. This finally had an effect on Sakamoto. He made a temporary wig for Kubota from a trash bag, decided to handle it, and went to the meeting place. By the river, Hayabusa was already waiting and ready to fight. As soon as the match was about to start, a police officer arrived and asked what they were doing. Sakamoto quickly answered that they were not fighting but just playing a balancing contest called pushing sumo. The officer, who was amused and got nostalgic, decided to stay and watch. Now Hayabusa had no way to deny it, so the match started under the police officer's eyes. Hayabusa attacked first, but Sakamoto used a feint. He moved as if to push, and then quickly stepped back, making Hayabusa lose balance without any direct hit. Hayabusa quickly changed his style, took a simple boxing stance, and kept attacking, while Sakamoto carefully used footwork, dodging, and countering at the right time. The police officer, acting like a commentator, praised that Sakamoto was using Hayabusa's own speed against him instead of just relying on strength. Meanwhile, rain started and the match dragged on. The wet ground made every move harder, but Hayabusa refused to back down. Even when a passing car splashed water on him, he kept going. His first-year followers tried to interfere, but Hayabusa angrily stopped them and clearly said he would rather lose honestly than win with cheap tricks. Then Sakamoto announced he would use a secret technique, which he called standing attention. He made his body so straight and stiff that everyone thought he was trying to draw lightning from the storm, like a human antenna. While Hayabusa was fighting tired, the scared first-year boys finally admitted everything they had done, including stealing Sakamoto's things and cutting Kubota's hair. In this distracted moment, Sakamoto gave Hayabusa one last controlled push into a taxi that had just arrived. Then everyone realized Sakamoto was not trying to call lightning. He was just stopping a taxi for Hayabusa so he would not get sick after standing in the rain. After the match, Hayabusa accepted his loss without anger. Inside the taxi, the first-year boys apologized to both him and Sakamoto, and Hayabusa also admitted his mistake. Instead of asking for payback, Sakamoto said he would forgive them if they all went with him to buy things for dinner. That evening, Hayabusa and the other boys went to Kubota's house to apologize to him directly. They also brought food, including a lot of kelp, which was especially for helping his hair grow back. Kubota accepted their apology with surprising kindness and said that since no one could eat so much kelp alone, they should just make it into a kind of kelp party. While they were all spending time together, Hayabusa noticed that Sakamoto was quietly watching them from outside the window, giving them space and also making sure everything ended peacefully. The next day, Sakamoto was carrying Class 1 to 2's health reports to the infirmary. The nurse praised his sense of duty, but quickly noticed he had a fever and told him to lie down and rest. Sakamoto ignored this advice, quietly left, and went to the home economics room. Sometime later, he came out wearing a neatly made green onion tie, and it seemed he had decided to treat his cold in his own strange way. At the end of a school day, 3 elementary school boys started a game in the street. In this game, they had to kick a stone all the way home without losing it and without letting it fall into water. While they were busy with this challenge, they suddenly saw Sakamoto doing the same thing nearby, but his level of control was far beyond what they could imagine. He moved the stone forward with perfect rhythm, passed by people without breaking its flow, and handled obstacles on the way very easily. The boys were amazed. Their leader tried to keep up with him and told himself that Sakamoto only had an advantage because of his long legs, but as soon as he got annoyed and sped up, he lost his stone. The other 2 also failed soon after. They thought this path was too hard for beginners, while Sakamoto kept moving forward and quickly adapted even when the path got harder. He jumped over a fence and changed his angle, but kept moving without losing speed. The boys felt like high school life had unlocked some impossible skill. The next day, they made a new game. This time, they had to walk only on the white line painted at the edge of the road, and anyone who stepped off lost. Again, they ran into Sakamoto, and he was already walking seriously on the same path. Their leader told the other 2 that whatever happened, they must not step off the line, and all 3 followed him through the city. Sakamoto treated the line like it was an unbreakable path. When a man blocked the way, instead of moving aside, he jumped right over him. The boys copied him and kept following. They crossed sidewalks, passed through different parts of the city, and even went by a baseball field, but did not stop the game. Hours passed, and by evening, they were far from home. Finally, the painted white line ended. The boys stopped in disappointment, but their leader saw a white stop sign ahead and thought maybe Sakamoto would somehow reach it directly. Sakamoto seemed to understand his frustration and handed him a roll of toilet paper. At first, the boy thought he was being mocked, so he pushed it away, but the paper unrolled and spread on the ground, making a new white line. Sakamoto calmly called this extension the toilet red carpet and moved forward. The boys, happy again, followed him until they finally reached a supermarket, where a standing buffet party was happening in the food court on the first floor. At that moment, the leader saw his mom and panicked, but before running away, he asked Sakamoto for an autograph. The next day, the focus went to Class 1-2's class representative, Megumi Fujita. Megumi was a quiet and careful girl, and her secret habit was secretly taking pictures of Sakamoto. She thought Sakamoto lived in a world completely different from her own, so saving his small moments was enough for her feelings. But when she looked at her pictures, she saw a very disturbing thing. In every picture, somewhere in the background, there was a ghost-like woman. The face appeared again and again, no matter where Sakamoto was, and once she noticed it, she could not let go of the worry. She felt that if something happened to Sakamoto, and she stayed silent, she would never forgive herself. After class, Megumi tried to talk to him, but she quickly got stuck in a problem. The only way to explain the danger was to show him the pictures, and that would also reveal she had been secretly taking his pictures. She hesitated for a long time, and Sakamoto apologized and left because he had something else to do. At that moment, a rolling cleaning bucket came toward him by itself. Megumi tried to warn him because she was sure some poltergeist was attacking him, but Sakamoto just got on it and used it as an easy way to move down the hallway. This event made Megumi even more sure that something supernatural was after him. Still looking for another way to bring up the problem, Megumi later went to him with a survey as an excuse and asked if anything strange had happened around him lately. Sakamoto answered that he had not noticed anything unusual, except that Kubota's hair was growing very fast again. For Megumi, this answer only proved that he had no idea about the danger around him. A little later, Sakamoto heard the sound of dripping water and went to check it out. There, he found long hair stuck in the faucet. He calmly pulled it out, washed it, and quickly left. Megumi followed followed him in fear, but then found out he was using the hair to make extensions for Kubota. Even with something this strange in his hand, Sakamoto treated it as a practical solution. Not knowing what else to do, Megumi told Kubota the whole story. Kubota did not ignore her fear. Instead, he admitted that strange things often happened around Sakamoto, but he said it like it was natural for him and only unnatural for everyone else. Still, Kubota agreed that maybe pictures were the only way to make Sakamoto understand. He also said that maybe Megumi and the ghost had something in common. At first, she did not understand what he meant, but later, when she took more pictures of Sakamoto from a distance, it became clear. Aina could openly go to him and stand with him, but Megumi always watched him from the background, just like the ghost in her pictures. Both she and the ghost were stuck at the edge of Sakamoto's world. When she looked more closely at the recent pictures, she saw that the ghost's mouth changed a little in each one. When she flipped them in order, it seemed like the spirit was trying to say something. She quickly printed the pictures and finally got the courage to show them to Sakamoto. While she was explaining, she felt like the ghost was saying, "I like you." As soon as these words came out of her mouth, Megumi realized how strange it sounded. The secret pictures and this message together made her feel like she had just made the weirdest confession ever. Panicking, she quickly tried to explain that it was not her message and she only wanted to warn him. Sakamoto listened to her and did not reject her, but instead of giving a dramatic reaction, he just asked her to help him in the photocopy room. There, he printed many copies of his own face, as if he was answering the spirit's feelings with the same honesty Megumi thought she had confessed with. Then a light wind came and blew the papers away, and this turned out to be a thank you message from the spirit. After that day, the ghost-like woman did not appear again in Megumi's pictures. After the spirit left, Megumi no longer needed to hide behind fear or hesitation. For the first time, she was able to take pictures of Sakamoto openly. Akon, Mario, and Kenkin spent the afternoon in a video rental shop, where they kept trying and failing to get into the adults-only section. While they were frustrated about this failure, they saw Sakamoto in another part of the store, surrounded by Aina, Yagi, and Tanaka. The girls were there because the class had been given an assignment to rent a movie and write about their favorite movie, and Sakamoto said he was looking for a film called My Summer with Chirp Soup. The girls offered to watch the movie with him, but he gently refused and kept searching on his own. Akon heard the title, found the film first, and then used it for his own benefit. He told Sakamoto he would give him the movie, but only if Sakamoto went into the adults-only section and rented a forbidden disc for them. Sakamoto calmly agreed. The three boys immediately started helping him. Mario gave him a phone for instructions, and they explained that he would have to enter the adults-only section without being seen, get the movie, and then leave the store while avoiding classmates who were in different places. To make his appearance less obvious, Sakamoto even took off his school uniform so he would not clearly look like a student. When the curtain at the entrance to the adults-only section moved slightly, he started moving smoothly around the nearby shelves, creating a small breeze. For just a short moment, the curtain lifted enough for him to slip inside at exactly the right time. The boys waited outside nervously, thinking maybe this would be the first place where Sakamoto would get in trouble. But soon after, he came back out and brought everything they asked for, like it was a normal task. But the challenge was not over yet. Mario warned him that Tanaka, Yagi, and Aina were all on the same floor in different parts of the store, so Sakamoto would have to avoid them on his way to the counter. He moved through the shelves, avoiding one classmate after another, but then he reached the Korean movies section and saw Kubota's mom, who was looking at things about her favorite actor. Because of this, he had to change his path, and while doing so, he ran straight into Aina. Aina greeted him loudly, which brought Yagi and Tanaka over as well, and all three girls asked him what movies he had in his hands. Instead of answering directly, Sakamoto suddenly started acting like a robot. With this strange behavior, he distracted them, pointed them toward an album display, and quietly hid the suspicious disc from sight. By the time the girls realized anything, he had already moved on. At the counter, there was one last problem for him. A new clerk was about to let him go easily, but the store manager stepped in and handled the transaction himself. Suspecting Sakamoto's age, he started asking direct questions and asked for proof that Sakamoto was old enough to rent the movie. Sakamoto calmly added more movies to his pile to make the whole purchase look normal. Then he pulled out an adult ID card that said he was 27 years old. The manager still doubted him because he looked too much like a student, but Sakamoto answered with full confidence and even used the fake watch drawn on his wrist, like he was a busy working man who had to go to his next appointment. The manager could not decide if he was a high school boy or some strange adult, and finally gave up and approved the rental. Outside, Akon completed the deal with him and gave him My Summer with Chirp Soup. Happy with the result, he invited Sakamoto to watch the adult movie with them, but Sakamoto refused, saying it was already too late. With this simple refusal, the three boys suddenly started thinking again about the whole plan. In the end, Akon threw the rented disc into the return box and decided they would wait until they were actually old enough instead of going through so much trouble again. After that, the athletic festival came to the school, and by then, Sakamoto had become the biggest source of confidence for the class. The boys believed they could win only because Sakamoto was on their side, but Sarah did not like that everyone depended on him so much. A few days earlier, he had tried to convince the class to do a small rebellion in their own way. For Sarah, the sports festival was not just about winning competitions. It was a rare chance to make a good impression on girls from other classes, and even senior students, and as long as Sakamoto was in control of everything, no one else could stand out. Since none of them could beat him alone, Sarah got the other boys to work together and called it a class revolution. Their first target was the bread-eating race. One boy purposely tied Sakamoto's bread very tightly so he would be embarrassed in front of everyone. The race started and Sakamoto quickly took the lead, but when he reached the bread, he got stuck in it and hung there for a few moments in a strange way, like a fish caught on a hook. Then, in front of everyone, he did a strong twisting move, like an alligator's death roll, and freed the bread. After that, he could have won easily, but when he saw the other runners still struggling, he broke his bread in two and gave it to them so they could finish too. This generosity made him even more popular. Next was the boys' group gymnastics. Since Sakamoto was supposed to be on top of the formation, the other boys planned to mess up his balance so he would fall in front of everyone. But instead, even when the base below moved, he balanced himself so gently that the whole formation ended up looking like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. This strange tilt made him even more impressive, and the girls loved it. Sarah, now even more desperate, put all his hope in the mixed relay. When Sakamoto got the baton, he suddenly slipped because Sarah had secretly tied his shoelaces together earlier. Sakamoto quickly changed his running style and moved forward with animal-like speed, making up for lost distance while holding the baton in his mouth. But when he gave the baton to Yagi, it slipped from her hand because it was wet with his saliva. Yagi stumbled, fell behind, and almost became the target of everyone's anger. Sarah had actually thought about giving up first, but when he saw Yagi running with all her strength even while crying, he made a different choice. After taking the baton from Yagi, he started running while undressing himself and pulled all the attention to himself so no one would notice Yagi's mistake. Later, when Sarah was eating alone under a tree and taking the class's teasing, he saw Sakamoto nearby and thought he had come to make fun of him too. But Sakamoto just called him a hero and left. Sometime later, Yagi also came to him and told Sarah that he turned out to be cooler than she expected. For the first time, Sarah managed to step out of Sakamoto's shadow, not by beating him, but by protecting someone else. When cultural festival preparations started, Hayabusa and the other second-year boys gathered on a staircase around a strange machine he had made from scrap metal. To everyone's surprise, it worked just like a cotton candy machine and made soft and impressive clouds of sugar. Maruyama asked why boys like them were running a food stall, but Hayabusa ignored the question and said they had every right to enjoy the festival like everyone else. When Akin asked if he could invite Sakamoto to their stall, Maruyama immediately objected, but Hayabusa gave permission without hesitation. He admitted he was also interested in Sakamoto. The conversation stopped right there when Fukase suddenly arrived. As soon as he heard Sakamoto's name, he grabbed Hayabusa hard and smashed his face into the cotton candy machine, then asked which class Sakamoto was in. Even with blood coming from his nose, Hayabusa did not tell him anything. On the other side, Class 1-2 was also busy preparing their festival exhibit. Megumi tried to encourage everyone and reminded them that first years were only allowed classroom displays, so if they wanted attention, they would have to work hard. Their idea was an encounter with the unknown attraction, made with balloons and shadows, but Morita and Yasuda were not interested at all. They complained that first-year exhibits never got any attention and that all the focus would go to the third-year events anyway. Instead of helping, they just made fun of the others' work. Then Sakamoto stepped forward and covered part of the balloon arrangement with a curtain, making its shadow look like a yeti. With just this one change, the mood of the whole room shifted, and everyone started thinking of new ways to make the exhibit more mysterious and interesting. Still, the problems did not end. Many of the helium balloons floated up to the ceiling, leaving them with fewer balloons than expected. Megumi said they would use the remaining balloons on the floor, and the girls started collecting them, while Morita and Yasuda still did not help. Once again, Sakamoto quietly solved the problem and used a broom to arrange the balloons on the ceiling into scary circles. This gave Megumi another idea, and she suggested combining lights and balloons to make a UFO effect. Morita and Yasuda laughed at this too, and when Sakamoto put a balloon on his head, they laughed even harder. But then he rubbed it with his hair, made static, and the balloon floated as if it was being pulled upward. Even this strange scene somehow made the whole concept work. While the rest of the class kept preparing the room, Morita and Yasuda left angrily because they had been called useless, and now felt even more left out. Outside, they met Fukase, who, instead of calming them, quietly made their anger worse. The next morning, Megumi and the other students came early to finish the exhibit, but saw that all the balloons had been destroyed. Before they could recover from the shock, another problem spread through the whole school. Everywhere there were posters with Sakamoto's face, offering a reward for catching him. At first, the students were confused, but Fukase openly presented it as a special festival game for everyone to enjoy. Sakamoto did not realize right away that he was the target, but as soon as he found out, he had to run because students from the whole campus started chasing him. Meanwhile, in Class 1-2, the girls refused to believe Sakamoto would destroy the balloons. For a while, suspicion went back and forth, but before anything was decided, Morita and Yasuda returned to the room and acted apologetic. They brought snacks and extra balloons, said they had thought about their behavior yesterday, and also said that when they heard about the damage, they wanted to help rebuild. Their sudden change of attitude encouraged the class, and by noon they were working to rebuild what was lost. On the other side, Sakamoto, to escape his pursuers, entered a third-year class's stage play and stood as part of the scenery on stage. In the audience, Fukase saw him and calmly pointed the hunters toward the forest backdrop, revealing his hiding place. When Sakamoto was almost surrounded, Hayabusa and the other second years cleared a path for him. After taking him to a safe place, Hayabusa later met him on the north building landing and finally told him what kind of person Fukase was. According to him, Fukase was an older third year with a very bad reputation. People said he had failed several years, lived a much more adult life than high school, and only came to campus when he wanted to make other students part of his harsh games. He especially liked to target popular students, then find someone else's weakness and use it as a weapon. Hayabusa warned Sakamoto to go back to his class quickly because Fukase's methods were very tough. When Sakamoto returned to Class 1-2, everyone was still working on the exhibit. Megumi tried to talk to him about what happened, but Morita and Yasuda interrupted and loudly said he did not need to feel guilty about anything. They even said he should leave the rest of the work to them. Sakamoto quietly turned and left, and this made them feel satisfied. A little later, a voice came from the other side of the classroom door. The speaker called herself Only Aoi and claimed she had destroyed the finished balloon display in a moment of impulse. Megumi felt relieved because this meant Sakamoto had been falsely blamed, but Morita quickly tried to challenge the confession. In doing so, he carelessly revealed things he should not have known, including the detail that the exhibit was not finished when it was destroyed. This exposed him. When the class opened the door, the mysterious culprit was actually Sakamoto, who had used helium to change his voice. When this trick worked, Morita and Yasuda panicked and finally admitted the truth. They confessed they had destroyed the balloons out of jealousy because they felt left out and ashamed, and Fukase had pushed them further. He had also used them in the plan to spread the wanted posters. In panic, one of them grabbed the Yeti balloon figure and threatened to destroy it too. Sakamoto responded by pointing something that looked like a balloon gun at them and told them to release their hostage. They laughed at first because they were sure he could not hit anything, but then one balloon popped, then another, then another. Later, it turned out that Kubota was also helping from outside. He was using a hand mirror to reflect sunlight and pop the targets at the right moment. With nowhere left to hide, both boys apologized sincerely. They admitted that the real pain was not from the work, but from the feeling that everyone else had found excitement and belonging while they were left out. When this was finally said clearly, the class accepted them back and everyone started getting ready to finish the exhibit together. But now they were out of both balloons and helium. At this point, Sakamoto contacted Hayabusa and his cotton candy machine was brought in and made part of the attraction. Using spun sugar, they made an unusual display, and in the end, Class 1-2 really managed to draw a big crowd. At Gakuban High School, the yard was almost empty at noon because of the cold weather, so Megumi, Mii-chan, and Kana chose that quiet place to eat and talk. Nearby, Sakamoto and Kubota were also eating lunch and trying not to burn their mouths with the hot food. Even this normal moment looked strange in Sakamoto's hands because he handled his food with the same easy and complete control he showed in everything. Seeing this, the girls started remembering the first times he came into their lives. Megumi spoke first. Her memory went back to the entrance exam at the start of February, when her hands were shaking from both the cold and nerves. During the test, her eraser fell from her hand. Before it hit the ground, Sakamoto caught it. Then, instead of just giving it back, he used it again and again to warm it quickly and then returned it to her. This small act warmed her frozen fingers enough that she could write again, and after that day, she kept that eraser as a good luck charm. Next, Mii-chan remembered the entrance ceremony, which was ruined by very bad rain. Her favorite umbrella broke, and when she saw Sakamoto's umbrella had turned inside out, she first felt sorry for him, but instead Instead of looking sad, Sakamoto turned the inside-out umbrella into something fancy, like he was collecting the rain and enjoying it. The rain that had seemed like trouble to her suddenly felt like a pleasant scene, and after that day, rainy days did not feel sad to her anymore. Then Kana shared her memory, which was from the day before the ceremony, when she went to get her textbooks but forgot her bag. She had to carry all the books in her arms and could not even see ahead properly. She bumped into Sakamoto and almost fell, but he caught the whole pile so gently that not a single book was damaged. That moment had such a strong effect on her that after that, she changed the way she handled her things. For all three girls, these short meetings had become precious memories, and each one believed in her heart that her first meeting with Sakamoto was special. While they were talking, Sakamoto and Kubota passed by, and Kubota brought up the day he first met Sakamoto. He reminded him that during orientation, he had covered a strange bump on his finger with a band-aid. When the band-aid came off, Sakamoto picked it up and put it back on his finger almost like a ring. For Kubota, that moment was still very clear, but Sakamoto did not remember it at all and just apologized. Hearing this, the girls laughed and decided maybe Kubota's first meeting was the most romantic of all. Later in class, Sakamoto read aloud so well that everyone's attention naturally went to him. On the other side, Kubota was so focused on watching him that when it was his turn to read, the teacher joked that he looked like he was staring at someone he liked. The class laughed, but this comment stuck in Kubota's mind because his thoughts had already gone back to a recent parent-teacher meeting. In that meeting, Teacher Kobayashi had praised Kubota's improvement and said a big part of it was because of Sakamoto, who had helped him change. Hearing this, Kubota's mom was very impressed. The idea that she might never meet Sakamoto again started to bother her. The next day, Kubota got sick and had to stay home. Instead of just notifying the school, his mom used the chance, disguised herself as Kubota, and went to school in his place. Her real goal was not to attend class, but to get close to Sakamoto again. At first, there was no problem, and the day started with a cooking lesson. There, Sakamoto stood out again. While Kubota's disguised mom unexpectedly made miso soup very well and said she learned it from Kubota's mom. When Sakamoto tasted it, he praised its deep flavor. Then he offered her to taste from the same bowl, and just the thought that she could indirectly share something with him almost made her lose control. But before she could do anything in that state, Aina grabbed the bowl, and the other girls turned the moment into a strange contest to see who could get closer to Sakamoto. The next problem came in the locker room before PE. Being so close while everyone was changing clothes was too much for Kubota's mom to handle, and she left in a panic before her disguise could be discovered. On the field, the class had to run laps. Sakamoto, as always, turned the task into something different, and his running style annoyed Kakuda because it looked to him like a theatrical show of Darwin's theory of evolution. Kubota's mom ran close to him the whole time because she just wanted to get close enough to touch him, but she pushed herself too hard and fell. When she hit the ground, the shell necklace or locket she wore broke. Sakamoto immediately turned and came to her with his hand out, but she refused his help and moved away by herself. Even with this refusal, Sakamoto noticed the details. He saw the broken jewelry, and he also heard classmates saying Kubota seemed strange today. Back in class, Kubota's mom started to realize she had gone too far. She wanted to get close to Sakamoto, but whenever he looked at her, he only saw his classmate. Things got worse when Marita and Yasuda started joking about classmates' bodies and moved toward her like they wanted to check Kubota's chest themselves. Stuck, unable to answer as a mom or as a student, she almost broke down. But at that moment, Sakamoto stepped in. He used the curtains to make a strange decoy shape, which distracted the two boys and stopped them from touching her. That was the moment she finally had to face her own actions. The attachment that brought her to the school was no longer harmless, and she was now interfering with her own son's relationship with Sakamoto. Accepting this, she decided she would not chase after Sakamoto anymore and would go home and take proper care of Kubota. As she was leaving, Sakamoto quietly gave her the same broken shell ornament, which he had somehow already fixed. This small act ended the day in a softer way than she expected. After that, Kubota recovered, and his mom brought her attention back to where it should have been, keeping one last memory of Sakamoto, but finally choosing to just be Kubota's mom. A little before Christmas, two college-age boys came to Sakamoto because their friend did not show up for a seasonal group hangout. Since they suddenly needed another person, they invited him to join. Sakamoto did not even know what kind of gathering it was, so they explained that it was a casual social event where people talked, shared things about themselves, and learned how others acted. They also said it would be a good chance to see and understand adult social behavior. In reality, they just wanted to add another man to the group to make the numbers even. Sakamoto agreed, and they all went to a karaoke place together. There, he met three young women, Miki, Yuka, and Yui. while the two men introduced themselves as Ryo and Kie. When the girls asked why Sakamoto was still wearing a school uniform, Ryo quickly covered for him and said he liked cosplay. Then the conversation turned to dreams and future plans. Ryo said he wanted to open his own bar one day, while Kie said he would take over his father's dental clinic. When the girls asked Sakamoto about his future, he answered very seriously that he wanted to work with NASA and help find a new world for humanity to live in one day, because maybe Earth would not always be livable. The girls were immediately impressed by the scale and seriousness of this answer, while the two men started to realize he might become the center of attention without even trying. Trying to take back control of the mood, they started a party game with a toy hippo, which closed its mouth if the wrong tooth was pressed. The girls all survived, but when it was Sakamoto's turn, the toy closed on him. Instead of reacting normally, he handled even this small punishment so gently and carefully that the simple moment somehow became charming. The girls became even more interested in him, and this made Ryo and Kei more uncomfortable. Then, to change the mood, they started karaoke. One of them tried to impress everyone with his singing, but even that failed because Sakamoto calmly made a strange but impressive saxophone-like sound with his arm and beat the performance. At this point, both men quietly teamed up against him. Drinks were ordered for everyone, and they purposely gave Sakamoto a non-alcoholic cocktail that was actually just 100% cola. The plan was simple. They told him that proper social etiquette meant he should drink it all at once, then immediately sent him to the microphone because they hoped the gas would embarrass him while singing. Sakamoto accepted this without question and stood up to sing, but instead of a light or popular song, he performed a German opera piece with such dignity and control that the whole room went quiet. Even though the girls did not understand the words, they were completely impressed by his voice. Soon, girls from other rooms started gathering at the door, drawn by the sound. The two men kept waiting for the cola to take effect, and finally a burp did come. But Sakamoto hit it so smoothly inside the song that it made the performance even more amazing. The room filled with even more admirers, and when Sakamoto saw the place was getting too crowded, he calmly thanked everyone and left. By the end of the night, all the girls' attention had moved away from Ryo and Kai and gone to him. After that, the story went to Hayabusa at home, where a different kind of problem was waiting for him. He was trying to take care of his family in the absence of a mother figure, especially for his younger siblings. That evening, his father told him they were going out for French cuisine because he wanted to introduce him to a woman who might one day become their new mom. Hayabusa was uncomfortable with the whole situation, but he agreed because he knew his father wanted stability for the family. Besides that, his father wanted him to act like the heir of a rich family, not like a scary delinquent, so Hayabusa turned to Sakamoto for help. Sakamoto admitted that real manners could not be taught in just one day, but he still made a plan. He told Hayabusa to prepare a big jacket, then hid behind him, so Hayabusa could show the right table manners on the outside, while Sakamoto's hidden hands handled the small details. During dinner, the woman commented on Hayabusa's strong build, and his father almost ruined the impression by hinting that it was because of fighting. Sakamoto quickly changed the mood by making the napkin into a bouquet, and Hayabusa presented it to her. Later, when snail dishes were served, Hayabusa struggled a lot because he found them disgusting. Even so, he forced himself to eat them for his siblings and for the hope of a mother for them. By the end of the meal, the woman looked impressed, and then Hayabusa left the adults to talk privately while he and Sakamoto walked home. On the way back, they got lost and ended up in unknown streets. There, they found Hayabusa's father surrounded by thugs with a woman, and it turned out she was not a romantic candidate, but part of an extortion setup. Hayabusa wanted to step in right away, but if he did it openly, it would destroy the refined image they had just made. So this time, they switched their positions. Now Sakamoto was the one in front, while Hayabusa gave the real strength from behind. Together, they took down the attackers in a moment. Then one thug tried to attack from behind with a stick, but Hayabusa blocked it with his own arm and took the hit himself. When it started to snow, Sakamoto calmly began telling a strange story about a boy who loved his family so much that he faced French cuisine without the right antibodies and his body mutated. Because Hayabusa's arm and movements were awkwardly hidden behind him, this story created the scary illusion that this mutated form now had extra limbs. The frightened criminals panicked and ran away. After that, Hayabusa's father revealed that the woman was an extortionist and the whole dinner had been part of a setup, then fainted from shock. In the end, Hayabusa carried him home on his back, and by the end of the night, he accepted a simple truth. When he and Sakamoto covered each other's weaknesses, they could handle almost anything. Finally, snow fell in the city during winter, and on the way to school, Sakamoto quietly told Kubota that it was the first time he had seen snow on the ground. Kubota was surprised by this simple admission. He realized he actually knew very little about Sakamoto, not even where he came from or what his life was like before high school. Soon after, they met Akin, Mario, and Kenkin, who already thought this snowfall was a big event. Akin had even made a snow rabbit, and when he found found out this was Sakamoto's first real experience with snow, he quickly decided he would teach him how to enjoy it. His first lesson was simple. He threw himself backward onto the snow to make a full body mark, then explained that leaving your shape in the snow was part of the fun, even if there was no special reason for it. Sakamoto listened seriously, then made his mark right on top of Akin's. The result looked so strange and so balanced that Mario said it looked like an anatomical figure from a medical book. Sakamoto immediately agreed, while Akin felt the mood was slipping out of his control. He wanted to be the teacher, but Sakamoto had already turned this small game into something more impressive. The next day, Akin tried again and started to teach him how to make a snowman. He carefully showed the normal way and even finished a regular snowman first, but Sakamoto looked at it, noticed it was not stable, and quietly started rolling more snow. Instead of stopping at the traditional shape, he kept adding more snowballs on top, until he made a very tall 9-ball snowman that surprised everyone who saw it. Mario and Kenkin immediately started praising Sakamoto and asked how he did it, while Akin once again felt pushed aside. What started as a friendly lesson now felt like proof that whatever he could do, Sakamoto could do it better. At that moment, Fukase appeared. He noticed Akin's frustration and talked to him like he understood exactly what was going on inside him. He advised him that if he really wanted Sakamoto to respect him, then instead of teaching, he should challenge him directly. Under this influence, Akin suggested a one-on-one snowball fight, with the simple rule that whoever got hit even once would lose. Sakamoto accepted without hesitation. This duel quickly became one-sided. Akin tried his best, but could not land a single hit. Sakamoto dodged every throw and answered back at scary speed, throwing snowballs like a machine gun and forcing Akin to take cover. Akin tried to wait, thinking maybe the cold would slow Sakamoto down or he would run out of ammunition, but the opposite happened. Akin himself got numb and tired, while Sakamoto stayed just as steady. Then Sakamoto put something inside a big snowball and rolled it toward him. Akin panicked and thought maybe it was a bomb or a trick, but when he moved to counterattack, Sakamoto hit him cleanly and ended the match. Inside the snowball, he had not put a weapon but a hand warmer. He also had hand warmers inside his jacket, which was why the cold did not affect him the same way it did Akin. This loss hurt even more because Sakamoto had treated the fight less like a personal contest and more like a way to make sure Akin did not freeze. Feeling humiliated and unable to understand his feelings, Akin went home crying. Fukase found him again and quietly fed his growing bitterness. He hinted that none of this would have happened if Sakamoto was not there. Akin did not answer openly yet, but it was clear Fukase had found the weakness he was looking for. The next day, as the snow started to melt, school life also moved toward the end of the first year. Sakamoto used the remaining snow to make a new place for birds, while Class 1-2 remembered the past year in their own way. Megumi had collected pictures from the whole year, and soon the classroom turned into an informal exhibition. The girls gathered around her pictures, especially the ones with Sakamoto. There was a fancy picture from a rainy day where he was captured in a way that everyone found beautiful, and another picture from the marathon where he looked especially impressive. The girls immediately started asking for copies. The picture viewing continued to beach photos and other memories from the year. Sarah tried to turn the attention to himself by starting his own trip story, but the boys only made fun of him. Some pictures caused confusion and embarrassment, like one where Kakuda looked like the local diving hero from Beach Day, and another that made Aina react strongly, and the boys immediately asked for copies. Even a hidden picture of Sakamoto in swim trunks came out, which Megumi did not want to show, but as soon as it appeared, the demand for bigger copies increased even more. During all this, the class understood how much Sakamoto had shaped their whole year, directly or indirectly. Meanwhile, Akin had started acting strange. Mario and Kenkin noticed this and tried to bring him to an emergency meeting with the second-year delinquents. In this meeting, Hayabusa and Maruyama explained that Fukase was not graduating because of too many absences, so he would still be around them next year. More rumors about him came out. It was said that in middle school, he was considered a prodigy. His IQ was 180, and he was someone Hayabusa could never beat even in simple games like tic-tac-toe. Hayabusa warned everyone not to let Fukase influence them and told them to hold tightly to the one thing they would never give up. Mario and Kenkin also expressed worry about Akin's condition, but by then, he had already started slipping inside. Back in the classroom, the picture sharing started to end, and everyone expressed thanks for spending the year together. But Akin stayed apart. He picked up a beach picture and left alone. Looking at it, he remembered that old trip and the time when he wanted to prove himself in a dangerous way, partly so he could be seen the same way as Sakamoto. At that moment, Fukase appeared again and gave him the final push, making Sakamoto the real reason for his frustration. Finally, Akin gave up. He burned the picture and accepted Fukase's offer, and so near the end of the school year, he started down a darker path. When the 57th graduation ceremony came, the school atmosphere was more formal than before, but not everyone was calm. The graduates were lined up for the event, the staff was busy keeping order, and some first-year students were there to watch. Sakamoto was chosen to give the farewell speech, and this alone made the moment unusual. When it was his turn, he stepped forward and, before starting to speak, presented an old volleyball as a keepsake, which immediately drew everyone's attention to him. Then he began to address the graduates, congratulated them, and told them not to leave high school with any regrets. His speech had not even gotten far in a normal way when suddenly Akin appeared holding a metal bat. He walked straight toward the stage with a dangerous look on his face. Kakuda tried to stop him, but Akin moved so wildly that Kakuda almost got hit and even lost some of his hair in the chaos. Panic spread in the hall, and several people tried to step in, but the confusion only got worse when Fukase calmly stopped others from rushing forward. Hayabusa was ready to intervene, but Sakamoto stopped him and decided to handle the situation himself. Akin charged at Sakamoto with the bat, swinging wildly and yelling at him to disappear from his sight. Sakamoto dodged every swing with his usual impossible calm. His movements were so smooth that from a distance, it almost looked like a rehearsed act. Even while the attack continued, he kept speaking, turning the whole fight into part of his farewell speech instead of letting the ceremony be ruined. The audience could not fully understand what was happening, but Kubota realized that Sakamoto was purposely absorbing the chaos at that moment, so it would not turn into pure violence. The chase reached the upper part of the hall, until Sakamoto climbed onto a high beam or rafter, and Akin blindly followed him in anger. There, Akin lost his balance and almost fell. At the last moment, Sakamoto grabbed his hand and saved him from falling. But instead of calming down, Akin became even more out of control. Hanging between fear and anger, he started hitting Sakamoto's arms and hands with the metal bat and asked why he was even bothering to save him now. He accused him of always acting superior, pretending to care, and never really seeing him. His anger mixed with tears, and he kept attacking. Even while being hit, Sakamoto did not let go of his hand. He listened to everything Akin said, and, through the pain, answered that showing himself so honestly was not a worthless thing. He said he should trust himself and the people around him instead of drowning in his frustration. But the repeated hits made Sakamoto's grip weak, and finally, Akin forced his hands apart. For a moment, it looked like he would really fall. Then Sakamoto quickly took another step. He used his pants as a temporary rope, grabbed Akin again, and instead of letting him fall, safely lowered him to the ground. That was the moment when Akin completely broke down. When he realized Sakamoto had tried so hard to save him, even after everything, his inner fight ended. After Akin was safe, Sakamoto started and finished his farewell speech again, as if this whole event was one last lesson. The whole crowd burst into loud applause, partly from relief and partly from surprise and respect, and the graduation ceremony somehow got back under control. Later, Hayabusa put medicine on Sakamoto's bleeding hands, while Akin kept crying and apologizing again and again. He admitted that Fukase was the one who had manipulated him and pushed him toward the attack. Everyone else understood that Akin had not done this all by himself but had been used. After that, Sakamoto went to the infirmary for proper treatment, but on the way, he met Fukase himself. Fukase calmly said he had no plan to graduate this year. For him, high school was like a beach, and graduation was the moment when students threw themselves into a wide sea they did not understand. He believed that ahead of them was mostly emptiness and lies, and watching students walk toward this false hope every year was his entertainment. Sakamoto completely rejected this way of thinking. He told Fukase that people do not move forward because they were tricked. They move forward because they want to discover something new. For him, staying in one place out of fear was not wisdom. When Fukase went back into the hall to enjoy his ruined role again, Hayabusa was also getting ready to end the matter in his own way. But when Sakamoto saw this, he suggested an easier plan. When the ceremony ended and the graduates started to leave, Fukase stood near the front as usual, watching everything. At that moment, Hayabusa and the other boys came to him and gave him fake congratulations, acting like he was graduating too. This sudden change confused him for a moment, and that was all it took for the trap to work. In that confusion, Sakamoto and Hayabusa made a coordinated move, which made Fukase lose his balance and fall straight into the crowd of students going out. When he was pushed out with the crowd and humiliated, his control over the day finally broke. In the end, the school treated Akin's attack as just part of Sakamoto's strange farewell performance, so he was not punished. After this humiliation, Fukase stopped coming to school, though later there were rumors that he was seen near the beach with a surfboard, as if he had finally drifted somewhere else. Then on March 23, during the closing ceremony, another surprise came. Sakamoto announced he was leaving. He had been invited to join a special space development program across the sea, connected to a project meant to help humanity reach Mars one day. The class reacted the only way they could. Instead of a quiet goodbye, they threw pies at him one after another so they could embarrass him at least once before he left. Sakamoto dodged each pie with full style. In the end, there were still some cream marks left on him, but he kept moving toward the school gate, while his classmates, teachers, and even Hayabusa called out to thank him. From the classroom windows, everyone thanked him for all the memories he was leaving behind. Sakamoto kept walking, but this time it was clear that for the first time, he himself was close to really feeling the meaning of this farewell.